Group exercise 101. In this video, we're going to cover everything you need to know about group exercises, exactly what it says on the tin. Just to introduce myself, my name's Owen. I help people get degree apprenticeships in the engineering, technology, and finance industries. Last year, I helped a whole bunch of people get into degree apprenticeships at companies like Amazon, JLR, KPMG, HSBC, Deutsche Bank, Rolls-Royce, just to name a couple of them for you there. So this video, as it says, group exercise, it's going to be the most detailed video on the internet about group exercises and how to pass them until someone else makes another video. So maybe in a couple of months, someone will make a more detailed video. But for now, I'll crown it. I'll take the I'll take the award for the most detailed group exercise video. I mean, you can decide that for yourself. If you get to the end of this video and you found value, feel free to leave a like. If you didn't find value, feel free to leave a dislike. Whatever you want to do, man. Let's do it. Okay. So the degree apprenticeship application process. In the degree apprenticeship application process, the group exercise can form part of the assessment centre. Okay, so there's some companies who put this as part of their assessment centre. Some of those companies you can see on screen there: Amazon, AstraZeneca, Deutsche Bank, JP Morgan, KPMG, PwC, and more. But those are some of the key ones that do a group exercise. So if you're going to go through the application process, you're going to get into a group exercise. You want to know how to succeed in these group exercises. Now, what actually is a group exercise? Well, a group exercise is a timed task which you must complete as part of a team, and it can be as little as like 3 applicants as a team of 3, or it can be something much bigger, like a team of 80 who are completing a task. Now, throughout this task, the assessor is going to be watching you, watching what you do, watching what you say, watching how you perform, you and the other candidates, so they can assess your communication skills, your teamwork skills, time management, attention to detail, problem solving, and critical thinking skills. Okay, because if there's someone who's in this group exercise and they really can't work with the group, they're really bad at communicating, they can't collaborate, then they're not going to be able to work well within a team at the company. And teamwork is such an important thing for working in any company, so that's why a lot of these companies like to employ this group exercise. Now, your group exercise can consist of up to 5 sections, okay? Usually, about 90% of the time, it starts off with some individual preparation. So it might be like, okay, you got 5 minutes or 15 minutes to read the task. So at the start of the group exercise, they'll give you some documentation. If it's in person, they'll probably give you a piece of paper. Or if it's virtually, they'll send you like the link to a document, PDF, something like that. And maybe you'll get 5, 10, 15 minutes to read through the information, sort of make some initial thoughts for yourself. Okay. Then it goes to the bread and butter, like the main thing, main event time, show time, right? Which is the group discussion. And that's when you're now allowed to speak to each other, or the group, 3 of you, 4 of you, 5 of you, 8 of you, whatever. You go and have this conversation and discuss what you want to do, how you want to complete the task. Okay. Then about 50% of the time, and this is where it can differ in terms of after, like group discussion, every single one has a group discussion because that is the bread and butter. That's the meat and potatoes. That's the holy grail. I don't have any more analogies for you. That's the main part of the group exercise, right? Is that group discussion. Then some group exercises, after it, they have some bonus things. So for example, about 50% of the time, they might ask you to do a group presentation. So you choose your option, okay? You finish the task as a team, then you might be required to do a 5 or 10 minute presentation back to the assessor talking about, I don't know, the options you chose, the task you completed, what you did, and why you picked the things you picked, why you made the decisions you made. Okay, about 50% of the time they can do that group presentation. Sometimes about 25% of the time they can actually pull you into an individual debrief. So it's sort of like that presentation, but rather than doing it as a group, you sort of individually present something to another assessor, talk about your thoughts, what you could do better, and all this sort of thing. And about 25% of the time they'll do like a Q&A where they're specifically asking you questions, like a Q&A. How did this go? What did you think about this? What could you have done better? How did you go about this? They might ask you those questions. Those are the 5 sections which they could do there. Okay, so just before we get into this, like the bulk of this video now, which will be going through what are the different types of group exercises, how to approach them, what strategies should you employ, let me just give you a bit of my experience, because why should you listen to me? Why am I qualified to talk about this? Well, I personally have passed 4 out of 4 of the group exercises I did to get into degree apprenticeships. And here's a key thing that I just want to make clear is, okay, so I basically had a 100% success rate with these group exercises. I had by the time I did my degree apprenticeship group exercises, I had previous experience of doing group exercise during one of the virtual work experience days I did. So obviously I was applying in the middle of year 13, but in the middle of year 12, I did a virtual work experience day where we sort of did a group exercise. And what that meant was, because I'd had the practice in year 12, it meant I was able to be good in year 13 because I'd had the practice. Point I'm trying to make here is, I didn't just fluke it. I think a lot of you might not have done a situation like this. You might not have ever been involved in a group sort of exercise over the course of 30, 45, 1 hour, where you have to work within that group and complete a task. A lot of you might not have done that. In which case, I don't recommend just going in and trying to fluke it. Right? It's what a lot of people do. It's what a lot of candidates are doing. But at the end of the day, it's like if there's a group of 8 of you, it's like 2 people are getting the job. Or it's like if there's a group of six of you, 5 of you, 1 of you, maybe 2 of you's getting the job. You don't want to leave it down to chance. You don't want to be the 3rd person, 4th person, or 5th person in part of that group who isn't good enough and they don't get the job. Okay, there's going to be a lot of candidates who just jump into these group exercises with no preparation, no research beforehand, no strategy, no plan. But the most dedicated candidates who are putting the work in, who are going to get the offers, they're watching videos like these and they're doing mock group exercises, which I'm going to get to in a second. Okay, you don't want to fluke it. You want to go in tactically and be ready to perform well. Okay, so another part of my experience is over the last 12 months I've conducted mock group exercises for like over 30 students, and I've helped them get into apprenticeships, as I mentioned at the start, companies like Amazon, Deutsche Bank and more. Okay, let me just show you this. This is basically, I basically hosted like a community last year. I was helping loads of people with degree apprenticeships, and I did a whole bunch of mock group exercises, basically simulating exactly what we're seeing here. So this is just a screenshot of one of the mock group exercises that we did. And basically after each of these mock group exercises, what I do is, we do the whole mock group exercise basically based on real ones done by companies like Amazon and PwC. And then I'd go through, I'd basically make a whole bunch of feedback on every single person's performance. Here's what you could have done better. Here's what you could have done here. Here's what you could have said differently. And I'd always film them like a huge feedback video going through loads of feedback. So you can just see a couple of them here from some of the group exercises I was doing last year, and we had some like really good reviews from here. Like you can see people saying these mock group exercises were really useful. Some of you might know Olamide, so I did a video with Olamide a couple of weeks ago. He did one of my group exercises and he ended up getting an offer from Deutsche Bank, who actually do a group exercise themselves. So these group exercises, these mock group exercises that I was running, as you can see here, they're very popular. People really enjoyed them. So that's something I'll get into a bit later at the end of this video. If you are interested in doing a mock group exercise with me this year for free, then I'll cover that at the end of the video. Just wanted to let you know about that. Okay, so that's my experience with group exercises. Now let's get into it. Okay, so first things first, we're going to talk about the different types of group exercise. Okay, because I've said you're going to get given a task. There's 3 to 8 of you. You're going to have to do the group discussion, individual preparation. But what are the specific tasks and what do they involve? That's what we're going to cover now. Okay, so let me zoom in a tiny bit more. There we go. That's nice. Cool. So if I do that, there we go. So the first type of group exercise they can do is where they give you sort of an unrelated simulation. That's what I've called it. So the reason I've used the word simulation is because basically you sort of have to simulate a false scenario. Like you have to enter the matrix, essentially, pretend you're in a certain scenario. Okay, they'll give you a piece of paper. So you guys have to pretend that you are in XYZ situation. Okay, so it's a simulation, but it is completely unrelated. Okay, maybe you're applying to a software engineering degree apprenticeship. It might be something completely unrelated. For example, organizing a charity event. Okay, that's a real one that I've had, okay, which is like literally, it was nothing to do with the job I was applying for. This one I was applying for digital and technology solutions. I ended up getting the job, by the way. And the actual task itself, it wasn't anything to do with digital and technology solutions or software engineering or data analytics or anything like that. It was just, okay, we're having a charity event. Like it was a charity marathon. You know how they have like marathon fun runs, like fundraiser sort of things for charity. We just had to organise one of those, like sort out what the race is going to be, what's the sponsor, what's the route, what food, what refreshments are we going to do, all that sort of thing. Completely unrelated. Okay. And another one they can do is choosing items in a survival situation. So it might be a survival situation. You know, you might have heard of this sort of thought experiment before, like if you can only choose 5 items, what would they be, sort of thing. Right, okay, I'm going to choose the first aid kit, I'm going to pick the bottle of water, I'm going to pick the stove, the tent, do you know what I mean? I'm going to, that sort of thing. What would you choose in a survival situation? There are big companies who use this one here, this survival situation one. It's completely unrelated, not related to anything, but it's a good way of assessing your collaboration. Okay, now the next type which they can do is, let's do it, the job type simulation. Okay, this is basically, again, it's a simulation, so it's like simulating a fake situation where you have to just jump into the matrix for a second, but it's relevant to the job. Okay, and that's the difference between this. This is like, okay, you're stranded on a desert island, what items are you going to choose to survive, or like you have to make a random charity event. This one's like, okay, you're part of the technology team at our company, and can you please choose which option you want to go bring into the business? Okay, so it might give you 3 options. Okay, 3 technologies we're thinking of investing in: AI, quantum computing, and I don't know, something like, I don't know, virtual virtual reality, augmented reality, something like that. Which one do you want to bring into the business? And they'll give you lots of sort of background information, positives, negatives, news stories, statistics. And so basically it's simulating a real life decision you might have to make. Okay. Choosing an option, coming up with an idea, something like that. But it's basically a job type simulation. So it's almost like what you might even be doing in this company. It's relevant to the job, it's relevant to the role you're applying to, and you have to simulate it here. So that's another type that they do. This one's quite popular. If I had to roughly guess percentages, I'd say this one here, this job type simulation, happens about 50% of the time. This unrelated simulation happens about 25% of the time. And this final one up here happens about 25% of the time. And this final one here is a values-based exercise. Okay. So a values-based exercise it's not a simulation. Okay, so this time it's not, you don't have to imagine you're in a certain situation. Okay, imagine you are the software developer team at our company. Imagine you are stranded on a raft in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Like, it's none of that sort of stuff. This is just, it's like outside the matrix. Like, you don't have to go into a false environment. You're just here, you're chilling, okay? And they might give you like a bunch of different statements. Okay, maybe it's 10 different statements, right? And you have to rank them against the company's values. Or you have to match them to the company's values or something. Okay, so it's purely just values-based exercise, and that's what, again, some companies do this sort of thing. Okay, so that's the third type, which they can use. It's good to be aware of. And just in general, make sure you're familiar with companies' values as well. That's just a general overarching point. It's really important that you're showing throughout the application process how you align with a company's values. Okay, so those are the 3 types of group exercise there, just to educate you on that now. Just to educate you on those. So now let's move to the strategies and the actual things that you want to be saying in these group exercises, okay, to get to the how do you stand out, how do you do well, how do you be like the 2 out of 6 or the 2 out of 8 or the 1 out of 3 who's going to be moving forward, progressing and getting this job. Okay, so let me zoom out for just a moment. So on the right hand side here, basically, is like the uses. So essentially on the left hand side, I'm going to go through these strategies now. There's a whole bunch of strategies which you can employ, okay, within your group exercise. You can use these strategies, use the exact ones I'm going to give you in this video, and then here's the uses. Here's like in which situations you can use these, in which situations you can't use these. Okay, so let's start off with this first one here. First strategy is include people when they are being quiet. Some people are introverts, some people are extroverts. You might have heard me say it in other videos, I naturally am an introvert. Like, I'm just happy keeping to myself. But when I get into a group setting or a group exercise, I just have to turn it up and I just have to become extroverted. And by the way, for any introverts who are listening to this, it's super easy to become extroverted. Just become extroverted. Okay, like I know you much prefer being introverted. I'm the same as you, I agree. I much prefer being introverted. But just when it needs to happen, just dial it up and just start. Just pretend to be a social person and you'll be a social person. You'll be an extrovert and you'll be talking. The reason for this is because if you're quiet and you barely say anything throughout the group exercise, you're not contributing, you're not going to get the job. I saw this a lot in my group exercises. There'd always be 1 or 2 people who sort of, I say they're undertaking like the quiet role. Like everyone has their roles within the group. They're taking on the quiet role. You're not going to get the job because you're not saying anything that's going to impress them, and also you're forgettable as well because you haven't said anything. They're going to have allocated the spaces to other people who are more memorable. By the time they get to you, they're like, oh, well, all the spaces are gone anyway. So even if you did good in your interview or you did good in your other parts, you did a good CV, it's like they forgot about you because you didn't do anything in the group exercise. So you don't want to be the quiet person, you want to be the person who's talking. And in particular, what you want to do is when there are people who are quiet, like you might notice Michael hasn't spoken for a while. Oh, hey, Michael, I haven't heard you say anything for a while. What were your thoughts on this? Did you want to chip in? What were you thinking? Include people. It shows you inclusive. It shows you collaborative. Companies really care about this sort of thing. Manage the time throughout. I can tell you a story about this. When I was in an in-person group exercise, I believe there were 12 people in total at this group exercise. At this assessment centre, there were 12 people, 12 candidates in total at this in-person assessment centre, and it was 4 groups of 3. And at the start of my group exercise, at the start of my group exercise, I straight away went on time. So the guide said we had 45 minutes. So straight away I was like, okay, guys, so we've got 45 minutes now. How about we spend 30 minutes discussing, and then the last 15 minutes, let's just prepare for, let's just finalise it or whatever, right? So, or whatever I said, right? 30 minutes discuss, 15 minutes finalise the options. Okay, and then throughout it, I was saying, okay, guys, we've had 15 minutes now, and we're still on the first point. How about we go and move on to the next point now? Does that sound good? Oh, hey guys, we've just got 10 minutes left, so I just want to double check that we've covered everything. Can we just go through everything again? Hey guys, we've got 1 minute left. Does anyone have anything left to add, or are we all good here? Okay. The assessor told me afterwards I was the only person out of the entire 12 who'd even referred to time. Who'd even like no one had even clocked it. The guide said 45 minutes, no one had even clocked it. I was the only person out of 12. And that massively made me stand out. It showed that I had that initiative and I had those time management skills. Now I think in 2025, more people are going to be onto this, because this is like a key lesson that I've been giving to people over the past sort of 12 months. Is this, like, mention the time thing. So it's unlikely in your situation where you're going to go in and you're going to be the only person out of 12, because I've been saying this so much that now a lot of people, especially people who like watch my channel, are more aware of it. They know I've said this sort of thing. But it's just a case of, okay, if there's 3 people who are trying to manage the time, just be the person who manages it first. Like when the time starts and, okay, you got 45 minutes, just be the first person to say, oh, so we've got 45 minutes. I'll write the time down. So we're starting at 10:46. That means we're going to finish at 11:31. How about we do 30 minutes of discussing it, and then should we spend the last 15 minutes working on a presentation? Does that sound good to everyone? Okay, so that's my story. It helped me stand out. Most likely more people are tuned into it now because of my videos potentially. But yeah, if you can do this, if you can be the person in your group to manage the time throughout, it shows initiative and it shows time management skills. Come up with good ideas. Honestly, if you come up with good ideas, it's just going to look good, because a lot of these ones, especially for engineering or for software engineering, you need to come up with good ideas, creativity, problem solving, this sort of thing. So if you come up with good ideas, that's just a bonus. That's really good. Try and think outside the box. Maybe there's something that people have missed, like an idea they haven't thought of. Perfect. Point out anything which the group has missed. So a lot of the time you're going to get given a lot of information beforehand that you have to read through and that you have to discuss, and the group is going to... Someone's going to be leading the group in a certain direction, everyone's sort of going to follow, and then someone's going to take in another direction, and the group sort of just ebbs and flows its way around the material until you come to a decision. And you're going to find that the group is going to miss out certain parts. So let's say there's like 7 pages of information. They're going to miss stuff out from that 7 page which isn't going to get discussed, because they're going to go with the main points but then leave out this page by accident. So what you can do is just point out anything which the group has missed. Oh yeah, hey guys, so I was just thinking, I know that we've been really discussing option 1 here, but we haven't neglected option 2. We really haven't considered that one. Do we want to just think about that one for a second? Oh yeah, no, yeah, let's do that, right? Or, hey guys, so I know that you were looking at the advantages of option 2, but I think there's this one thing which we might have missed, which was this disadvantage for option 2. I think that's really significant. Did you guys notice that? Oh no, we didn't notice that. Let's talk about it. Right? It just shows you have attention to detail. It shows you're thorough. This is one you can utilize in every group exercise, because there's always going to be a bit of the material which people have missed. We haven't discussed yet. So be the person to bring that up. Shows attention to detail. Shows your thorough initiative. All that sort of thing. Okay. You're going to get to a point where, like, you're choosing your option, or you're coming to a decision. You're ranking your things. You're coming up with how we're going to do the charity event. You're choosing your 5 items, whatever. A good thing to do is to be like a sort of collaborative leader, and that's just check everyone's on the same page. Oh, hey guys, so it sounds like we want to go with option 2. Just want to check, is everyone happy with that, or is there someone who's sitting on the fence, right? Or just want to check, we're definitely going with option 2 then. Everyone all good with that before we proceed? Yep, we're good with that. Cool. Okay. And even just doing that 5-second check, to me, it's like when I see someone doing that, I get a lot of respect for them, because it's like, that's a very sensible thing to do. You're making sure everyone's on the same page, everyone's happy. And especially when there's like quite complicated stuff going on, like sometimes when you're allocating roles for a presentation, oh, Johnny's doing slide 1, Matthew's doing slide 2, Chris is doing slide 3, Boris is doing slide 4, and it's like when that all gets allocated and everyone's like, wait, hang on a second, who's doing what? That's where it's good to check. So hang on, just to check that I've got this down right. Is this right? So he's doing 1, he's doing 2, he's doing 3. Is that right? Yep, it's right. Okay, cool. Right. That's good leadership. That's good collaborative leadership, because you're just checking, making sure everyone's on the same page, making sure there's no miscommunication. It shows like your communication is clear because you're clarifying everything. That's the kind of thing you can do. Show your numerical ability through calculations, conversions, and percentage changes. Okay, numerical ability, really important, especially for engineering, technology, and finance. So you want to show off that numerical ability. Essentially, my strategy is whenever I see in a group exercise in the material, so as I said, they might give you 7 pages, 4 pages, 2 pages, whatever of material to look through and discuss. If you see a number, question it. Can I say something about this number? Is there something I can say about this number? Is there a calculation I can do? So quite often they might give you a thing like, oh, so the the cost of this changed from 3,500 to 4,500. Now, someone else in the group might say, oh, we shouldn't go with this option. The cost actually increased to from 3,500 to 4,500. That actually doesn't show many skills because you've just copied what the material says. You've just read the material and it says 3.5 to 4.5K. Okay, I'm going to reiterate that. I am just a Google text-to-speak machine and I have no critical thinking skills. That's what it comes across as, 3.5 to 4.5K. No, but what you're going to do, because you've watched my video and I've told you to, is you're going to put in your calculator 4,500 minus 3,500 all over 3,500 times 100, right? Or just divide by 3.5, that's faster. But effectively, you can do a percentage change. Like the most important formula to have ready for these group exercises is percentage change. Can you calculate a percentage change? Whenever there's values, where there's change in values, can you calculate a percentage change? That's a bog standard, run-of-the-mill, bread and butter. Like I'm going through the analogies again. It's just do that. It's so easy. Easy numerical ability. 99% of people aren't even going to think of this. If someone else has been watching my videos, fair enough, they might do it. Most people, they're not going to use this one because they don't think of it. Okay, but if you can do that numerical ability, it's like, and make it obvious as well. Don't just say, oh, so this one has a 25% change. The assessors aren't going to be too clued up. They're not going to have memorized the source material that you're reading off. So don't just say, oh, it's an increase of 25%, because they might assume, okay, that's what it says in the paper. No, say something like, okay, guys, so I did the calculation from 3,500 to 4,500. I did that. I performed that calculation myself, and I worked out that it's a 32.749% increase. Do you see the exact wording I did there? I didn't just say, oh, it's a 32% increase. No, I said, I calculated on my own, by myself, independently, that it's 32%. I'm really trying to get that message across to the assessors that I did this calculation myself. I'm proactive. I've got initiative, and I have numerical skills. You've got to be super obvious with your wording. Like everything about a group exercise, your wording has to be so precise and what's the word I'm looking for? I'm looking for the adjective of intent, which I don't think there is one. But it's like everything you're saying it with intent. You're saying it purposefully for a reason. Okay? If there's any conversions, like for example, one I did was there was an area in foot squared. This was one I did in a real one. It was like in foot squared. Let's say it was like 100 square feet. Okay, so what I did was I calculated. Okay, so that's 100 square feet. Let me just work out what that is in meters squared and what that is in meter. Oh, it's actually however many meters by however many meters. Does that help you guys visualize that better? Okay, because 100 square feet, no one knows how big 100 square feet it is. But if I break that down into like, oh, that's 5 meters by 5.5 meters by 5.5 meters, then people can visualize it. Okay, that's how big that area is. Boom. That's not only helping the team, but it's also just showing I have that numerical skills because I was able to do those conversions between different units. Okay. And the key one here is, I don't have a calculator on me, but show that you're using your calculator. This will link to the next one, I believe. Yeah. So during the preparation time, okay, when like you might get 5 or 10, 15 minutes to go through the source material, go through the task, the instructions, and make notes or whatever, visibly take notes. Like an actual assessor has told me that's part of the mark scheme. You get given marks if you are seen taking notes. So what that means is literally getting a pen and making it obvious that you're taking notes. Okay, and this is why I think it's important to have a pen, because if you just type it on your document, this is what it looks like. It looks like nothing, because like my keys are typing, but it's down here. This doesn't look like I'm typing. Doing that wouldn't get me the mark for visibly taking notes. Even though I am taking notes, it wouldn't get me the mark because I'm doing it digitally, which no one can see. However, if I've got my trusty pen, and I'm holding it like this, and then I'm coming down here to make notes, they can see I'm taking notes. It's the same with the calculation as well. Little trick I used to do is purposely hold my calculator up here, right? And like obviously this is your phone. Don't use your phone because it looks very unprofessional. Use a real GCSE A-level calculator. But I have my phone up here, I'd have my calculator and I'd make the calculations here. They can clearly see I'm typing on the calculator, so it's like they know I'm doing those calculations. They know I have that numerical ability. Refer to company values. Okay, if it's these next two, if it's unrelated, let me just show you these next one. Company research and company values. If it's unrelated, so if it's like a charity event, I mean, maybe you could do it with a charity event, but if it's something completely unrelated, like survival situation on a desert island, don't worry about these two. Okay, company values and company research. For example, one of their values might be sustainability. if if you're on a desert island, no one cares less about no one could care less about sustainability. Oh yeah, I'm not going to start a fire to attract a rescue because it actually increases our carbon monoxide, right? Or I'm actually not going to get us rescued because humans breathe out carbon dioxide, so I actually don't think we should get rescued. We should actually die because of global. Like, it's kind of dumb thing people say, right? Obviously, if it's unrelated, desert island, forget about this stuff, right? But this is particularly useful for something like a job type simulation. Maybe you're part of the technology team and you're choosing which option you'd like to bring into the business. Okay, think about their values. Don't just, because obviously they'll be like, okay, which one's cheapest, which one has the best benefits, which one has the least disadvantages. But also think about it through the lens of, okay, which option aligns with the values of the company. So it's like, maybe you have, let's just say you have two options. One of them is like a really good option, but it's like, it's the same, it's like an old thing. It's something that they've done for 30 years, like it's consistent, it works, but it's something for 30 years. Then there's a new technology which just got invented like a year ago. What I'd say is something like, hey guys, so I know that you were looking at a lot of those advantages of option one. I just wanted to present an alternative because maybe this could change your opinion here. I know at our company, one thing that's really important to us is innovation. It's one of our key values. And looking at option two, this looks like an innovative new technology. It said it's something that's been made last year. It's state of the art, and it has the opportunity to revolutionize the industry. So I'm thinking, especially since our company, we care about innovation. Do you think we'd want to go with the more innovative option? Does that sound better? What do you guys think? And that's the kind of thing you can say to link to values. Okay, similarly, you can link it to research. So let's say there's two different options and one of them's more sustainable than the other. Okay, this is how you do it. Hey guys, so I was just thinking, I was reading through this option 2 one. It said it actually decreases carbon emissions from 300 milligrams to 200 milligrams. And I calculated that on my calculator and I worked out that that was a 33% decrease. And I was just thinking, I know our company really cares about sustainability. Like from the research I was doing, our company's going to be net zero by 2035. It has its own initiatives, which it's recently set up in Oceania to reduce carbon emissions. So I was thinking, do we want to consider doing option 2 because it fits more with our company's purpose, our company's mission, our company values? What do you guys think about that? So many different things I did there. I did the maths percentage change thing. I did the research thing. I was collaborative. I was asking for people's opinion. Like, that's how you do it. Okay. This is, a lot of people don't do this because they're not sure how to insert values or research. You do it exactly like I said there. You just sort of say like, oh, this one aligns more with the company because I did some research and I found out this, whatever, right? Do it. Boom. Let me give you one more. Okay. So let's say there's two different options you're going to be trying to choose between in this job type simulation, and one of them's safe, one of them's not safe. What you can do is, hey guys, so I was just thinking, I think it might be really important that we look at this in option 1 because this option 1 is 30% safer than the other one. And from researching the company, I know that safety is a super important thing. We have this target of by 2035, there's 0 people being harmed in our manufacturing facilities. So with safety being at such a core of our organisation, it is for me as well. For me, to be honest, safety is number one priority. I personally think I'm leaning towards this one in terms of safety. Do you guys understand what I'm saying? What's your guys' thoughts on that? Boom, you've got the research in of like some statistic by 2035. So easy, man. So easy. Okay. Right, the next ones are to do with presentations. Any ones with the presentation. Number 1, look at the webcam during your presentation. No one does this because people look at themselves. They look at their, like the whatever's on screen, the other people. They look at their notes. They look in here. They're thinking up here. Easy way to be more engaging than anyone. This is a general communication thing. Utilize this in your interviews. Obviously, this is for a virtual one. If it's in person, it's like there's no webcam. Obviously, state the obvious, but I'm talking about a virtual group exercise. Look at the webcam as much as possible. Honestly, you're gonna like if you're in a group exercise with 6 people, 5 people are going to be looking down here. Like no one even does this. If you're the one person who's looking at the webcam, really good communication, it's going to be so much better. Okay. Also, another thing, when people like do the presentation, again, like 50% of group exercises, they have a presentation at the end. Okay, let's split it between people. Okay, each person's going to speak for a minute. 5 people, 5 minutes. Cool, no worries. Right. Most people, 99% of people, and in fact, I'm not even sure if I've ever seen anyone actually do this. But it's like these are kind of little things I think about, these strategies which allowed me to get like 4 out of 4 group exercises successfully, right? People would finish their presentation and they'd stop. So another reason that we wanted to go for option 1 was because it was really sustainable, and I know that the company cares about sustainability. So that was another reason really contributing to why we wanted to go for option 1. And then there's like a 15-second pause because the person who's coming next is then trying to work out, okay, have you finished? Are you pausing? Are you struggling? Are you having a stroke? Are you having a panic attack? Is my internet gone down? Right? Like, let me give you another example. Like, you might be talking, yeah. So another reason why we decided to choose option two is because I really think option two is the best, and option two comes with a really good safety record. Does it? Does it really? Okay. It's just awkward. Like, it just means you're wasting time in your presentation because no one knows when to start. And also, it kind of reflects badly on you because it's like, okay, what's going on? Are you okay? Easy way to make this so much better is just professionally pass on. Okay, so one of the reasons we didn't go for option two was because of its safety record. I know safety is super important for our company. I researched that we want to have zero harm by 2035. So that's why, really, in good faith, we couldn't go with option two. It's one of my biggest priorities, safety. I know it's one of the biggest priorities for the companies. So that's the reason there why we didn't go with option two. So now I just want to pass on to Matthew, who's now going to talk about his reasons why, our reasons why we didn't do option three. Boom. You do that. It's going to change the game. It's going to, because no one does that. No one does that. No one does that. Okay. Do you know how professional that is? Do you actually know how professional that is? So yeah, that's my part on why we decided to go with option two. Now let me just pass on to Pharrell, who's going to conclude this presentation for us. So professional, man. Pharrell. Who's called Pharrell? I don't know where that it's because I watched a film this morning and there's a guy called like Colin Farrell or something. And okay, whatever, man. But like, do that. It's so professional. Okay, do that. This is a good one. This is a good one. Every now and then, you're going to be like, because, okay, hold on. Let me step back for a second. 90% of people are socially, what's the word I'm looking for? 90% of people are social anxiety. Like, I used to have it, sort of thing. Now I don't. And I've filmed other videos on like communication and speaking skills, which you can check out if you want. I think probably the video I filmed before this, I think it's a full guide on speaking skills. It depends in what order I upload everything. But 90% of people have social anxiety. So what's going to happen is a lot of people, their presentations, as I said, they're not going to be that good, which is why if you can just upgrade your speaking skills by like 20%, look at the webcam, professionally pass on, you're already doing them better than most people in the presentation. Every now and then you can get someone who is seriously like socially anxious, like, or like seriously bad presentation skills. And I don't mean it in a mean way, it's just I'm being honest. And it's not even like bad presentation. It's not even about the bad presentation skills. It's like they're probably a good communicator, but there's people who are really socially anxious. That's what it is. It's not necessarily like they're not correlated. I mean, okay, they might be a good communicator. My point is there are people who are very socially anxious, and what happens is they can go into a breakdown or equivalent, which means they're halfway through their presentation and they get lost for a second and they get flustered and they start panicking and they lose their train of thought and they're like they just start having like a breakdown. And they start panicking, they start worrying, and like I can't really fake it because like that's not the kind of thing that I would do. But it's like they just get mid-presentation, they lose their train of thought, and rather than just handling it and just going back to the start or just moving on or handling it professionally, they have no idea what they're doing and they just sort of have a bit of a breakdown, or they stay silent for 15 seconds, or they're like they almost start crying, like all this crazy sort of stuff. Every now and then that's going to happen. I'm not saying it's like 100% going to happen. Every now and then it can happen. If that happens, be the person who steps in, because that's where like when that happens, okay, someone's having a bit of a breakdown, they start like crying, like I don't know if they'd start. It's like I really don't know how to explain this. Maybe you know what I'm talking about. It's like someone would do a presentation, they'll get lost in the middle and they'll get sort of flustered and they'll start panicking and they'll be like whatever, right? It's kind of awkward because everyone's just sort of watching them, like staring, and the assessor's not going to jump in because like the assessor's just assessing you. Like this is your guys' group exercise. You guys got to deal with it. But then everyone else in the team is sort of just watching them break down on camera, right? Like have a mental breakdown on camera on a call in front of everyone. Everyone just watches, and it's kind of like I've been in mock group exercises that I've been running, and this has happened, and I'm just sitting here like, this is so awkward, man. Come on, someone do something, because like the girl's having like a breakdown on camera or whatever. I'm being a legitimate assessor, so I'm not going to jump into this because I'm trying to make this realistic. And everyone just watches and leaves her to it on her own. And it's so bad, man. It's so bad to watch, man. I'm just like, come on, guys, actually do something useful, right? this is a situation where, like I said, no one else is going to do anything because like they don't know what to do and they're too awkward and socially anxious to think about anything like this. So if someone is struggling like this, what you need to do is jump in and be like, "Oh, are you okay? Do you want me to just cover you for a second? I'll go on to my slide and then we can come back to you at the end if needed. Is that all right? Yeah, cool. Okay." That's going to show so much initiative, so much confidence, so much leadership. Instantly, you're the best person in the group. Regardless of the rest of it, you're instantly like the best person. I mean, I don't want to say regardless of the rest of it, because maybe you've done a shocking performance the rest of it, but it's like instantly you're one of the best people in the group because you started talking and you took over from them, you covered for them, you were supportive. Rather than no one else who was watching them suffer and panic and be in pain and get embarrassed and get anxious, you were like, "Oh, no worries, let me just jump in and then we can get back to you a bit later." Yeah, or do you want me to just fill into you for a second? Yeah, cool, do it. Go and do that. So good. Finally, anyone that has a Q&A section, answer a good number of questions. A lot of people try and avoid questions. Okay, fine. Avoid the questions, don't get the degree apprenticeship offer. Do you know what I mean, right? So if they do have a Q&A, you don't have to answer every single one necessarily. Don't talk over people. Don't jump in and be the first person every single time. What I like to do is sort of be the last person for each question, because what you can do is you can just literally listen to what everyone says, and they're going to forget something major, and you say it, and then you make them look like an idiot because like you've sort of said something that's super useful that they all missed. That's what I do. Like, answer as many questions as possible. You got to put yourself out there. If you don't put yourself out there, just like I said at the very start, if you're being quiet, you're not going to get the role. Okay. So there we go. Those are a bunch of strategies. Hopefully you find that useful. Now that you know these strategies, it's now about implementation, because one thing sort of learning these things and you're in a video with me and you're listening to them, it's another thing then actually being able to go into that real situation and use them. So this is where a mock group exercise is going to come in super useful. So I'm going to do 3 mock sort of assessment centres starting from January 2025. I'm going to be posting like spaces to these exclusively on my Twitter. So if you want to get a space in these 3 mock assessment centres starting in January 2025, go and follow me on Twitter now. I may actually be doing a couple of like sort of it's like a pre-sale, but it's like I'm doing them for free, so it's not a sale. But I'll be doing some like pre-ones, maybe at the end of December. Okay, so if you do want to secure your spaces in those mock assessment centers, go follow me on Twitter. Not everyone's going to be able to do these, okay, because I'm only one person. I have like 2,000 subscribers on YouTube, and I might be able to get through 50 or 100 people. I actually don't want to say 100. 100's taking the mix, to be honest. I might be able to get through like 50 people from the space of like January to March or January to April. So if you want to be one of those, like, what is that, like 2.5% who want to do one of these assessment centers? 2.5. Have I done that math right? Yeah, that sounds about right. If you want to be one of those 2.5%, go and follow me on Twitter. And again, this is the group exercise. These are the group exercises we did last year. These were sort of the reviews that I had. People coming into the group exercises, a lot of them were sort of a 2 and a 3 in terms of confidence out of 5. And they ended up, most of them were on 5 out of 5 in confidence after those group exercises. So if you are interested, go and follow me on Twitter. I hope you found this video useful and it's helped you with those group exercises. And hopefully I'll see you soon on one of these mock group exercises. And then I can help you on more on an individual one-to-one level. So go follow me on Twitter. But thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate you giving me your time. And I will see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.